nobody else was doing that here. Maybe a couple of small scrappers here and there,
Yeah.
but nothing organized. So what got me into it? Seeing your stuff, following you, listening to you just talk about the possibilities and the opportunities. I went and visited you, and that kind of like sealed the deal. Oh, now I see the operation. I see how it works.
I'm really interested to get the fresh eyes perspective. You're generally kind of new to the scene, and I'm really interested to remember what it's like to get started and kind of some certain lessons that you're learning. Anyways, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. You want to go ahead and do a little introduction?
I'll say, hey, I'm Chris.
Chris Blanz, CEO of Dispo Tech and friend, personal friend. We go way back, and that's actually kind of where I want to start today. Is that I guess we've known of each other since the early mid 2000s, I guess early 2000s. When did you start Cabbage? What year was that?
2001, April Fool's Day.
Okay,
Uh,
that's right. I didn't know it was so early, 2001. I was behind you a couple years, but we formed web design businesses way before it was cool to do it. When we were cutting things up in Dreamweaver, I got into the web design from print design. I'm not sure how you kind of fell into it, but I fell into it because I was really curious about like what is this new the web thing. It really formed my first career and my second career, curiosity. I think that curiosity being a catalyst is something that you can kind of understand as well. What got you started?
with Dispotech, I got to say it's you. I'm not sure why I stopped by. I think I had something to recycle or I had seen your posts or something, but I stopped by your house and you had so much stuff. I think you had just gotten that little barn out back. I should
Yeah,
say, not,
Barnabas.
not little. It was
Hmm.
pretty big. I was thinking little shed, but it was pretty giant. And every inch of that was crammed full of stuff that people had brought to you and you couldn't keep
Yeah,
up. And I think you were contemplating hiring or you had just hired or something. But I was just amazed by the support from the community that there
right.
were so many people with so much stuff. And of course, I've heard all of the statistics about how much e-waste there is. One of the statistics was just in Kentucky alone, there could be a path, a certain width and a certain height that goes from Bowling Green, Kentucky, all the way to Denver, and that's every single year. And
Hmm.
that was kind of sobering. We were invited to be a part of the Warren County, which is Kentucky,
Hmm.
Warren County Hazardous Waste Day. And we were told to expect about 4 tons. We got a little bit more than that, and that's awesome.
Great.
But all of that
Four
waste,
tons is 8,000 pounds. That is a what is a 26-foot box truck full?
it's giant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was however many pallets. I don't remember
Wow.
exactly. A lot.
Okay.
Uh, they weren't organized. It's
Mm.
just like things were
They never are.
literally thrown in there. And I think we'll be a little bit more organized next time. But all of that stuff coming in, it's not even a tiny little percentage of all of the e-waste that comes through. And nobody else was doing that here. Maybe a couple of small scrappers here and there,
Yeah.
but nothing organized. And yeah, so what got me into it? Seeing your stuff, following you, listening to you just talk about the possibilities and the opportunities. Um,
Yeah.
and then I went and visited you, and that kind of like sealed the deal. I was like, oh, now I see the operation. I see how it works.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew everything. No, I don't know everything. I'm
Right.
learning something
Right.
brand new every single day.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll give you all the credit. You definitely inspired me, and I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you saying it, but I think that similar to starting the web back in 2001, which is 5 years ahead of me, you saw the opportunity, you
Yeah.
recognized it, and you kind of saw the potential in it. I've always just said curiosity. That's
Yeah.
what's driven me, and I don't know if there's a better word, or maybe it's entrepreneurship. Maybe curiosity is what you need to have entrepreneurship. I'm not really sure how it all couches together, but I keep finding it be a very consistent theme of anyone I talk to. Like, what am I going to get next? Like, what is this thing? Let's look up what valuable parts are in this thing. And I think you have that kind of same spark. So you're 6 months into it. Dispotech is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and you're servicing pretty much. Oh, is that in Central Kentucky, Southern Kentucky? Where's your service area?
It's called Western Kentucky University.
Western Kentucky.
It's the school that's here in Bowling Green. I tend to think of it as South Central Kentucky.
Okay.
We definitely service the Warren County region, but there have been people from other outside counties. And And I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to go too big too fast because, well, it costs money to drive to different places
Yeah.
and it costs money to advertise in different places. So if somebody wants to drive a couple of counties, absolutely, and they have, that's great.
Yeah.
We welcome them. But I'm not going to try to go out there just yet. I think we have a whole lot of process and procedure stuff that we've got to figure out
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. The growing too fast can get you into hoarding mode real fast. So, what surprised you the most so far in the industry?
I expected the industry to have a certain amount of standards, at least when it comes to naming conventions. My expectations coming in were a motherboard is a motherboard is a motherboard.
Right. Right. Not a
And
P4 metal socket colored. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And what the hell is a P4?
Hmm.
Just trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Honestly, it could be one of those first answers that somebody finds and instantly they know it. But for whatever reason, that was really challenging. Can you define what a P4 is?
Right.
Uh, I don't know that I have a true answer from any of the buyers yet, but I do
Well,
know.
Pentium 4, I think I've always just counted it as Pentium 4, it's the plastic sockets, but hell if I know if I'm right, you know?
Well, I just wish they would say Pentium 4 if that is
Right.
the case. There was one buyer who had different pictures, and here's
Hmm.
how you can identify these different.
Board Sort does a pretty good job, has some good
Oh,
examples.
absolutely. Board sort is great. It's when you start going to other people
Hmm.
and trying to compare apples to apples. That's
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
messes up. Um, but yeah, the standard vocabulary for what a motherboard or
Hmm.
what a different grade of motherboard is and why. I think the why is the really important thing that
Sure.
Boardsman does a great job doing.
Yeah.
Not everybody could work with that same vocabulary. Oh, that would be great. I'm not sure
Right.
necessarily why they don't, but I wish they
Well, I
would.
mean, I think the buyers set the tone where if you have enough money to buy cargo ships of material, people are going to go by your terminology and your grades. There's a lot of buyers that can afford to do that. And so I don't think any of them have come together and unified the process, which I mean, there's no incentive to, right? But there's some commonalities, but you're right. I mean, we're working with one buyer that's a Chinese company that is in California, and they have this interesting household electronics category that goes from vacuums to speakers, but not wooden speakers, only plastic speakers. It's all these caveats. And then my other big buyer just calls it MISC,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to try to see the commonalities and thread together what they could be. And there's an opportunity for some unification there, like a master index for the industry. That'd be a really interesting project.
I've kind of already started something
Oh,
similar to
dope.
what you're talking about, just three vendors or buyers.
All
And
right.
I think adding another wouldn't be too hard. It's just getting them to identify, okay, I've got a bunch of pictures here, identify what
Hmm.
they according to your vocabulary. And then I can cross-reference each one of them and have that apples to apples to apples to apples
Yeah.
comparison. And I think when you were talking about the Ecopreneur Club,
Hmm.
that concept, I think is great. I think that could get us on that common vocabulary so
Oh
that
yeah. Yeah.
even if those buyers are using different terms, our internal communications could be,
Hmm.
oh, okay, you know that this thing goes here as opposed to in this other bin because it's more valuable,
Sure.
less valuable. And then eventually, if we were to team up with three or four other companies, maybe we could have, I don't know, similar to if I understand what a co-op is,
Hmm. You're
but
right.
similar to a farmer's co-op, that the idea that we as individuals or as small companies don't have a lot of collective bargaining power. But if I'm collecting 10,000 pounds a month and you're collecting 50,000 pounds a month and somebody
Right.
else is collecting 2,000 pounds a month,
Yep.
well, you get the benefit of having that extra from us. We get the benefit of having that extra from you.
Yeah.
And now we can get a better price for what it is we do. The whole logistics of how to share, I don't necessarily know, but
Yeah, I mean, the name of this podcast is Ecopreneurs Club, and this has really born an idea that you and I have talked separately on a couple conversations. To just add to what you're saying is that the idea that we've been discussing is kind of like a roundtable founders approach to the waste industry, and not just e-waste, right? Like
yeah,
plastics, aluminums, glass, cardboard, like the whole waste stream is all interconnected.
Mhm.
and you have some huge commonalities circling, no matter if you're a cardboard or e-waste. You got to get logistics, you got to get certain insurances, how to grow your business. It doesn't matter if you're growing a cardboard business or an e-waste business, it's still pretty much the same. And so the idea of forming this Ecopreneur Club, and this is what I have narrowed it down to really, is like 13 individuals that are owners of business that are going to be coming together. And yeah, I've really been thinking about this a lot, and I don't want to just take this conversation to do that, but let's put a pin in that. Since the last time we've talked, it's come so far.
Oh, great.
And just what you're talking about is sparking like some commonality in language and grading is like the first win. It would be needed for everyone to kind of put their insight into. So I think we should certainly come back to that. So first 6 months, challenges, got that. Now, what about as far as your early wins? What are you most proud of?
You mentioned in one of our phone calls a while back relationships with
Mhm.
scrapyards, relationships with businesses. And yes, of course, everything's about relationships, but I had not concentrated that closely because we have four-ish scrapyards right around here. I say four-ish
Oh,
because
that's
they're
that's good
numbers.
amount.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And they're, I guess, different levels, different scales.
No pun intended.
Yes, very true. I had gone and tried to talk to a couple of them, but never got anybody in charge. Maybe it's because I'm
Mhm.
going to pick up, and if I had a giant dump truck, that would be something different.
Right.
But I happened to stop at one and talk to the right person, and all of a sudden, I've got this great relationship. We've got better pricing
Great.
than we had before. Just kind of driving up, and there are little divisions in different categories. So
Hmm.
before it might have just been all the wire was thrown together. Well, now we know that Ethernet has less insulation, more copper
Hmm.
yield. Great, we get more from that. That's small. As far as wins, relationships,
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah.
Warren County, yeah, before we started, I happened to go to one of the hazardous waste events and pulled up and said, "Hey, who handles your e-waste?" And they said, "Well, we're going to be shopping that soon," because their last vendor, I think the relationship was just about to end.
Hmm.
Said, "I'd like to help." And
Good timing.
oh, it was great timing. And there were several other things that were great timing. Anyway, it led to a sit down conversation with that team. They just toured our space to make sure that we had enough space for
Oh,
all
wow.
the
They
stuff
were
that was
checking you
coming in.
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It would have been really stupid for them not to have done that. And we only had this small space that I'm in right now.
Hmm.
Luckily, we had some flexibility, and now we have a place to store all that stuff temporarily. I would
Great.
say that was a huge, huge win.
Yeah,
And
it fell into place.
the other big thing is I spent probably 3 weeks thinking about what to say and how to say it and how to tell the story. And this comes from my background in web design and copywriting and everything else. I built a website that was optimized for search engines, and then I spent too much money at the beginning advertising that and doing search engine marketing. That really paid off because a guy in
Yeah.
Detroit called and said, "Oh, so I understand you do e-waste recycling, and we've got a warehouse that's shutting down. Wonder if you could help." I said,
Yeah.
"Absolutely." So he
You've
flew
been
down.
busy with that. I heard last
Oh,
time I texted you, like, I'm at the warehouse. I'm at the warehouse. Like, all right. Yeah, he's working.
next week supposed to be the end of it.
All
It's
right.
bad because, well, it's a big revenue stream, but also all the
Sure.
people I've gotten to know. It's great.
That's
Uh,
awesome, man.
So yeah, absolutely. I would suggest anybody who is going through this concentrate on the website. Maybe not as much as I,
Hmm.
do, but concentrate on that. Search engine marketing, I think, is really important. But big surprise, Facebook. Gosh, a little bit of marketing goes
Huge
a
platform.
long
Yeah,
way.
sure does.
People in the 30s, 40s, 50s who happen to work at companies,
Yep.
those people who happen to work there and have some influence over what they do with a closet full of old computers or just wires, extension cables, things like that.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. So we give them the idea and they go, "Well, come get it." So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
great.
We just hired a salesperson, and in all the startups and all the businesses, I've never been the person to train a salesperson, but I was just telling her, we're the easiest sell in the world. Everyone needs this, just everyone doesn't know they need it yet. People are so happy when we show up and it's everywhere. But
Yeah.
you had mentioned the scrapyard, and I know that this industry, I think you've been able to see it too, is that it's pretty stuck in the scrapyard mindset, this
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of low tech, low margins, and it's honestly super outdated. That was the first thing that I noticed about it in the opportunity. Like there is so much opportunity to modernize. But kind of given our shared background in tech and scaling companies, how do you see our generation reshaping the e-waste industry particularly?
Well, I'm on that cusp of people who definitely do not understand ChatGPT. I understand it enough, but I'm not really
Right.
deep into it. I think learning more about how those prompts work is going to make
Hmm.
so much more efficient.
Yeah.
The first step in recycling is not tearing it apart, right? It's trying to find a different use for it. And
Yeah.
so,
Recycle it to the market.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So something comes through, and if you're refurbishing it or you're just like taking it from the garbage bin instead of sending it
Hmm.
out, you're putting it into a shopping basket for somebody. It's trying to describe it. It's figuring out if this is a Dell, whatever, so and so, then what does it have and how much RAM and how do you describe it to anybody so that it gets some traction on eBay or Marketplace or anything else?
Hmm.
And ChatGPT can give you just about everything that you need to know about that model if
Hmm.
you ask it the right way. And it may not give you everything about that particular computer. So, for instance,
Hmm.
somebody may have upgraded the RAM or something, but using tools, AI tools, can make things a whole lot more efficient. What I
Oh, yeah.
haven't covered yet is how to actually integrate that with eBay because it just seems like a big, long, complicated process, even if you use all the templates. And so I'd say that's our biggest I don't know, obstacle, hang up.
We've tried to streamline as much as possible. Certainly I can kind of show you what we do. It's not fast, but it's certainly not slow. And it's the best one that we've been able to handle. Like there's sourcing, sorting, and selling.
Mhm.
And selling is the one that's out of your control. You're
Right.
always using someone else's platform, eBay, OfferUp, or Amazon. So there's all these limitations that can shift. The goalpost can shift at any time. And, eBay is so just like the other day, I don't know if you noticed, but all their images were down. Like the worldwide, everyone lost their images. And so
No.
like no one could list anything for like 6 hours and people were losing their minds. And I'm thinking to myself, this is really hurting people's revenue. Like this 6 hour window down,
Oh yeah.
we just got lucky because it was on one of our non-heavy listing days. I mean, we were able to come back and make up for it. But um, yeah, I mean, selling's a tough one, but I'll show you kind of what we can do. So this whole podcast talks about certain things for City E-Waste, my company, and then also the book that I'm writing, the Backyard Urban Mining book. I'm sure I've talked to you about it before, but I basically am walking readers through the steps of the sourcing, sorting, and selling. And so I would love to get your perspective on all three of the major kind of steps in our business. So sourcing, what has been your favorite item so far and what's delivered the biggest ROI for you?
We had some big power supplies that came through.
Okay.
And I was very surprised that people were still interested in buying something that, something that had batteries
Hmm.
that had been used for who knows how long.
Right.
But yeah, it was three giant power supplies, really, really heavy. I thought they were going to be tough to ship. I thought it was going to be
Mm.
impossible to sell. And yeah, they sold pretty fast.
And I think I know exactly which ones you're talking about. We get a couple of them in and they go for high dollars
Oh,
and
yeah.
sell really fast.
Well, and for a while, we were getting these UPS devices come through. And first thing I would do is just remove the cord that would tangle up either a pallet or whatever. I just run over and snip it and be done with it. And if the battery would pop out, oh, good, it's not as heavy. I'll pull the battery.
Right. Right.
And then I started looking at the value after the fact and went, whoa, maybe we better not do that. Now I've got a giant pile of UPS devices over here and another one
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
But uh, yeah, if I could go back in time, there were a
Oh,
few
I
I would
know.
definitely save.
I've snipped quite a few chords, man, that are just like, why did I do that? Why did I do
Oh, yeah,
that?
cinnamon
That's a
cords.
good
I
one.
want to ask you, do you take the time to snip the ends off of
Not
power
anymore.
cables and
No,
Ethernet?
not anymore. We used to, but now that we have certain contracts, just have us just constant. We can't touch almost anything anymore. We only are touching servers and desktops at this moment. and only certain desktops at that. So as far as sorting goes, so intake, we call it intake. It can get very overwhelming and very fast. It's not, it's like the biggest killer to the ADD mindset. It's like there's just so much stuff that comes in. You want to look at it all, you want to touch it all, you want to see what kind of cool stuff, but it's a profit killer too. So what systems or habits kind of help stay organized and keep your warehouse and your brain from just going into overload?
Well, warehouse is a very generous word. I wish we had one. We're in like an old newspaper building, but we don't have access to we have access to a
The
dock.
open floor or the web printers were.
Yeah, I wish we had access to that, but in order to get to that dock door, we have to go through two or three smaller, like
Oh
regular
yeah.
doors. And so our, a big fancy pallet jack, it sits over here so we can move stuff out of the way to sweep, maybe. Someday we will have that.
Oh, one
Um,
day you'll be afford the double doors. Yeah, that's the
yes.
the upgrade that you direly need. Oh,
But
that's funny.
what we have found, and this is not so much intake, but just sorting. What are they called? Giant trash cans. The big ones that you
Huh?
can
Yeah,
throw
the
things
96
out.
gallon ones.
Yeah, and they're not going to break.
Mm.
There's a difference between the cheap ones and the good ones. The cheap ones break way too fast. But anyway, we've started utilizing those. A little lift table, hydraulic
Hmm.
lift table helps us get it into a truck if it's too heavy
Yep.
for one particular person. And we still do use the pallet jack here just to move things and rearrange things if need be. If, like, say we got a bunch of UPS devices or a big stack of computers that we need to put in a particular spot, we'll still move things around. But
Hmm.
we're still learning so much about what to touch and what not to touch.
Yep.
Yeah, Hazardous Waste Day was completely different from everything else that we had
Yep.
seen because it's such a variety. I mean, you'll get CPAP machines, and we don't have any control over what goes in
Yeah.
our bins versus the actual trash can.
Yeah.
We have a
CPAPs are
list.
tough. There's just you can't sell them. You
Oh yeah,
know.
you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to sell them, and it takes time to break them down. And
Yeah.
if I take them
They're
to the
mostly
scrap,
plastic.
too much plastic, they're
Yeah.
gonna put a big red flag and say, "We don't want you back." So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the hazardous waste days, what we're seeing also with our county client is that we will get almost like it's the coffee maker, but it's all plastic, just like it has a cord on it. And that's the only e-waste is the cord. And so it's just lack of knowledge, I think, as far as like what people can recycle and what can't.
that's the
So yeah,
best
oh,
tool
that's a
for
nice one. That's a
somebody.
nice
So,
one.
oh yeah, I don't even
That
know
gets
where
the
I got.
job done.
Oh, there you go. Advice for future people. Estate sales.
Oh yeah.
That's where you need to buy your tools. Forget about Home Depot and Menards and all those other places. No, estate sales is where you need to buy your tools.
Yeah.
Here in the Middle Tennessee and Southern South Central Kentucky area, we have something called estatesales.net,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's right.
you learn about where they're going to be, and they show you all kinds of great pictures. I don't know what they are everywhere else, but yeah, there
Yeah.
is no reason to buy a brand new tool of any kind except maybe bits for
Yeah, the bits and batteries is usually what I'm buying the most of. I stick with Ryobi just because I think they're durable and they're cheaper when you got to get the new batteries. But I have like 25 flathead screwdrivers that I got for 15 cents. Like just
yeah.
the beautiful, thick, like steel. They'll last forever. And I got them in a
Picked
safe.
it
So
up the other day. I love it.